We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Boston as we celebrate the 246th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Winston Churchill once said, "The American democracy is the worst form of government, except for all other forms that have been tried." Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lieutenant Colonel Fife, retired. I am an instructor at East Boston High School. It is the initiation of that democracy, the signing of the Declaration of Independence, that we celebrate here in Boston today, as we have for well over 243 years. Our celebration is dedicated to the men and women of the United States Armed Forces. We'll begin today with our traditional flag ceremony, followed by Boston's Independence Day Parade. First stop on our parade route will be the Granary Burying Ground for a short ceremony and laying of wreaths at the graves of John Hancock, Peter Faneuil, Robert Treat Paine, Samuel Adams, and Crisp Attucks. The parade will then continue to the Old State House for the annual 4th of July reading of the Declaration of Independence. Upon completion of the reading, the parade will reform and proceed to Faneuil Hall. Faneuil Hall was donated to the city of Boston by Peter Faneuil, a wealthy American colonial merchant and philanthropist. It has hosted so many pre-revolutionary meetings that it has become known as America's cradle of liberty. It is only fitting we conclude today's program here, as we have every other 4th of July since 1783. Joining me here on the stage today is City Councilor Ed Flynn, City Council President, Mayor Michelle Wu, Ms. Amy Yandel, Director of Office of Tourism, Sports, and Entertainment, Commissioner of Veteran Services of the City of Boston, Robert Santiago. Joining us also are two sailors from the U.S. Submarine, Massachusetts, Captain Thomas Goodfellow, Captain Commanding in the Ancient Honorable Artillery, First Lieutenant Major Michael Fish, Second Lieutenant Lieutenant John DiMano, and Adjutant Command Sergeant Major Carlos Ramos Rivera, Brigadier General Milano, Chief of Staff, Ancient Honorable Artillery. The Ancient Honorable Artillery Company of Massachusetts holds the distinction of being the oldest chartered military organization in North America and the third oldest chartered military organization in the world. And last but not least, our vocalist, Dana Whiteside. Captain Goodfellow, Captain Commanding Ancient Honorable Artillery, kindly have your Adjutant Command Sergeant Major Ramos Rivera call the parade to attention and present arms for the singing of our national anthem by Dana Whiteside, accompanied by the Zava Military Band, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Command Sergeant, Adjutant, call the company to attention and present arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Dana. Please remain and present arms. It is my honor to introduce the 20-year retired Navy veteran, the City of Boston Veterans Services Commissioner, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, Commissioner Robert Santiago.
Everybody, please recite after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Santiago. It is now my distinct privilege to introduce the Mayor of the City of Boston. Michelle Wu is the 56th Mayor of Boston. Mayor Wu is a daughter of immigrants, Boston Public School mom of two boys, MBTA commuter, and fierce believer that we can solve our deepest challenges through building community. As Mayor Wu is working in coalition to deliver bold, systemic change and make Boston a city for everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Wu.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Boston. Welcome to the birthplace of American democracy on our nation's birthday. Thank you so much to Lieutenant Colonel Fife and special guest Kendall here with him today. Thank you to my colleagues at the City Council President Flynn, Commissioner Santiago, Captain Chicolo from the Boston Police, and all those who are here keeping us safe and protecting us every single day of the year. And Dana Whiteside, who moonlights as an incredible vocalist, but actually serves us in this building as a city staff and planner as well. We are so proud to represent the Boston that you see today. We're proud to be connected to a legacy that you see gathered for this special celebration as well, tracing all the way back hundreds of years with the ancient and honorables. Thank you to the Middlesex County Volunteers, the Billerica Regiment, the Massachusetts 7th Regiment, the Wilmington Minutemen, the Submarine Massachusetts. We're so grateful for what you do to remind us of the legacy that we carry forward every single day. And thank you most of all to our active duty service members and veterans who've joined us here this morning. We are so grateful for your service. I'm grateful for you to allow us to celebrate this 4th of July. I'm so excited to be here celebrating this historic day with all of you. New to my job, just a little over 7 months in now, and reminded every day of the baton that is passed down to each of us to carry forward in this special city what it means to be an American, to be truly for a country that represents freedom, democracy, and the opportunity for every single member of our community and society. I want to note that just a few days ago, we were interrupted in our celebrations by a hateful group that descended on Boston, a white nationalist, white supremacist group from outside our city who chose to try to co-opt this birthplace of democracy and the message that we send every day. We wholeheartedly and overwhelmingly reject your message of hate, your desecration of the American flag that you carry. It is this display that we hold up as the birthplace of America that everyone has the right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and we will fight every day to make sure that that mission for freedom for every single human being is complete. There are many, many events and holidays that I get to attend and celebrate as mayor, but few are as core to Boston's history, our character, and our ongoing legacy as Independence Day. For we are nothing if not fiercely free here in Boston. Today is a celebration of that freedom and a reminder of the work and sacrifice required to defend it, to deepen it. And so I want to say thank you again to all those joining us here today from across our city, our Commonwealth, across the country and the world. We are so grateful that you are choosing to join us in our celebration of courage, commitment to this country, and the pride that we hold dear in Boston. Happy 4th of July, everyone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And now the Zava Band, under the direction of Mr. Frank Zava, will play Stars and Stripes Forever. Thank you, Frank, and thank you to the Zava Band. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's flag ceremony. Captain Goodfellow, have the Adjutant Command Sergeant Major Ramos form the parade.
Adjutant, form the parade.
Participating in today's parade are the Ancient Honorable Artillery Honor Guard, the Ancient Honorable Artillery under the command of Commanding Captain Goodfellow, the Zava Military Band, Boston City officials, the Middlesex County Volunteer Fife and Drum, Wilmington Middleman Company, Billerica Colonial Minutemen, and the 7th Mass Regiment.
Attention! Right! Hey! Right shoulder, arm. Right, face.
That all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Boston as we celebrate the 246th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. How appropriate it is that we are here today, just outside this building. On March 5th, 1770, 5 men were among the first casualties of the battle for independence in what would later be known as the Boston Massacre. From 1771 through 1782, a patriotic oration had been given from this very balcony. On July 18, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was first proclaimed to the citizens of Boston from this very spot. As in revolutionary times, I ask our trumpeter to sound assembly from the balcony. Thank you. I now call upon the City of Boston's Veterans Services Commissioner, Robert Santiago, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everybody, hands over heart, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Santiago. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the Mayor of the City of Boston, Mayor Michelle Wu.
Happy Independence Day, America. Welcome to Boston, the birthplace of our country, on this day, our country's birthday. This is a city here in Boston where we take our responsibility very seriously to be a leading light for freedom, justice, and equality. And we pledge on this day every year, and every single day throughout the year, to be a leading light, pushing forward to recognize how all of us are deeply connected in the ongoing work to perfect our democracy and our freedom. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And now the Captain Goodfellow, Captain Commanding of the Ancient Army of Artillery, will read the Declaration of Independence.
The Declaration of Independence was publicly read for the first time in Boston on July 18, 1776, from this balcony by Colonel Thomas Crafts, who was an elected member of the Ancient and Honorable Artillery Company of Massachusetts. Tradition holds that a member of the Ancient and Honorable Artillery Company of Massachusetts has read the Declaration of Independence nearly every July 4th since the end of the American Revolution. Action of Second Continental Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal safe station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw up such government and to provide new guides for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let the facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most unwholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the repository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the right of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise. The state remaining, in the meantime, exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions from within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for their tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislature. He has affected to render military independent and superior to civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction of foreign to our Constitution, unacknowledged by our laws, given his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of a trial by jury, for transporting us beyond the seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our government, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections among us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind. Enemies in war, in peace, friends. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. God bless America.
And now it's my pleasure to introduce our vocalist, Dana Whiteside, who will sing God Bless America. Dana Whiteside.
Happy 4th of July, Boston. As the storm clouds gather far across the sea. Let us all pledge allegiance to a land that's free. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
At this time, the Zava Military Band, under the direction of Mr. Frank Zava, will play Stars and Stripes Forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to historic Faneuil Hall. Faneuil Hall was donated to Boston by Peter Faneuil, a wealthy American colonial merchant and philanthropist. It had hosted so many pre-revolutionary meetings that it has become known as America's cradle of liberty. It is only fitting that we conclude today's program here, as we have every other 4th of July since 1783. for 236 years to be exact. In addition to being one of the most important buildings in our nation's history, Faneuil Hall is also one of our country's most visited. Certainly it's a place in history that's second to none, but its popularity can only be credited to be combined efforts of the City of Boston, National Park Services, and of course, the Freedom Trail Foundation. Joining me here on stage are Mayor Michelle Wu, Commissioner and Commissioner of Veterans Services, Robert Santiago. Vocalist, Dana Whiteside. And once again, my name is Lieutenant Colonel Fife. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not doing so already, please stand. And gentlemen, kindly remove your headgear as our vocalist, Mr. Whiteside, honors America's 246th birthday with the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare of bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Dana. Please remain standing. Please remain standing. It is now my distinct privilege to introduce the Commissioner of Veterans Services for the City of Boston, Robert Santiago, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I got to follow that every time, ladies and gentlemen. Every time. Ladies and gentlemen, hand over heart, please. Recite it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Santiago. Please be seated. Since 1783, for 236 years to be exact, the City of Boston has concluded our Independence Day exercises here at Faneuil Hall with a patriotic oration. Today's orator is none other than our beloved Mayor, Michelle Wu. Mayor Wu is the daughter of immigrants, Boston Public Schools mom to 2 boys, an MBTA commuter, and fierce believer that we can solve our deepest challenges through building community. As Mayor Wu is working in coalition to deliver bold, systemic change and make Boston a city for everyone. Mayor Wu is a graduate of Harvard Law School, 2012. She served in the Boston City Council until 2021 and president of the City Council from 2016 to 2018. Mayor Wu was sworn in as the 56th mayor of the City of Boston on November 16, 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, it is truly my honor and a privilege to introduce our mayor, Michelle Wu, for her patriotic 4th of July oration.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Boston. Welcome to historic, beautiful Faneuil Hall on this historic, beautiful day. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Fife, for leading us on this important journey today, from City Hall to the Granary Burial Ground to the old State House, where we both managed to stay securely on the balcony and not have an incident, to here. Thank you to Dana for lending your voice on such important occasions for the city and lending your heart to the work that you do day in and day out as a member of our team at the City of Boston. And thank you, Commissioner Santiago, for making sure that our city never forgets and instead strives to be the leading light for our servicemen and women. I want to thank the Arts, Culture, Special Events team for so much work that they put in to welcome the world to Boston on every July 4th, and this weekend, bigger than ever, bigger than several years, as we come together for in-person celebrations and back here for the first time in several years. My final thanks goes to the Ancient and Honorable Artillery Company. Thank you for connecting our legacy for hundreds of years to shining a light on where we've come from and where we still have to go. To all of you here today, our Boston residents, visitors from across the city, Commonwealth, nation, and world, welcome to the birth of America in this very building, here in the birthplace of America on our nation's birthday. To the active duty and retired military who are here with us today, thank you for your service. We are grateful for your service as part of a legacy reaching back through our nation's history to this day, nearly 250 years ago, when we declared our independence, knowing full well that liberty cannot only be declared, but must be defended. We're grateful for the work that you do every day to continue that. We knew then, as a city, as a new country, that justice and freedom were words meant to be lived and not just written or spoken. And so today, I want to focus my remarks on the birthday of our country and Boston's maternal role in that delivery. It has been a busy week here in the city of Boston. Just this past Thursday, we celebrated our official inauguration as a new administration. 7 months late, due to the pandemic, we finally had our festivities kicking off a historic new time in Boston. It was an unusual election that the city of Boston had last November, and I am proud to stand here as the first woman, the first person of color, and the first mom elected to this role in our city. And so our inauguration was a bit unusual too. A big summer block party right on City Hall Plaza, free and open to all, and filled with kids, getting their faces painted, doing activities at various stands, just as I like it. I take very seriously that I'm the first mom elected to this role. I have 2 boys, as you heard. My older son is born in December, and I remember in my first year on the city council, getting to almost to that due date and realizing that my winter coat wasn't going to zip up soon, but that I only had to last a couple more weeks. So I would go around with the coat zipped up just to the top of my belly, and Blaze was hanging out in the cold, and that has been his personality ever since, ready to rush into any situation. And every year on his birthday, towards the end of the year in December, we take stock of the year that we've had as a city, as a country. My younger son, Cass, is a July baby. And in fact, his birthday is a week and a day after our nation's birthday. He'll be 5 very, very soon. And with Cass, I remember trying to just survive the heat as a pregnant lady in summer, crunching on frozen grapes to try to make it through. But his birthday, aligned with our country's, is one to reflect on the work still to do. In fact, I found out I was pregnant with him on Election Day 2016, when our country took a turn in the politics and the tone of where we would be headed. But for both my sons, it was when I became a mother that I began to see birthdays not just as a celebration of that individual, but the collective that they are part of, the many sacrifices and loving actions that brought them into being. And if ever there was a birthday for our country to mark that collective sacrifice and spirit that brought us into being, our democracy into being, it is right now. 2 days ago, a white supremacist group insulted our city with their presence, popped out of a rented U-Haul, carrying flags, and walked along parts of the Freedom Trail. They were masked, but each carried that symbol of our country as if holding on to it could somehow co-opt the true legacy of our ideals, liberty and justice for all. In Boston, we take that responsibility very seriously, and we won't let any bigots intimidate us in our work to build a city for everyone. I take this responsibility very seriously in my new role, understanding the sacrifices that my parents as immigrants made to bring us to this country just for that chance at what would come and the opportunities that America would bring. In fact, Boston's role in this moment connects to the legacy of our history very deeply. I stand here in a long line of speakers giving these remarks on Independence Day. And 200 years ago, the first speaker to speak after Boston officially made our transition from a town to a city was John Gray. He stood here in this very spot, and in his oration remarked that, and I will paraphrase because the language 200 years ago was quite different and complicated, but he essentially said that we will know we have succeeded as a society and a country if, when critics ask us what we've accomplished, we can respond by pointing to our children. That is the dream and the promise of America, a commitment to ensuring that every generation grows up in a society that is stronger, freer, fairer than the last. In fact, Boston has always been a city of the future. As much as we celebrate our history and hundreds of years of the bricks outside absorbing the spirit and legacy of this democracy in our country, we have always cast our eyes towards the horizon and down to the sparkling eyes of our children. This city gave birth to our revolution, to abolition, to marriage equality, and to so many innovations along the way. Home to the first public school in America, the first public parks, the first public libraries, all instances where we decided to make a collective, shared investment in our future, in our kids and the generations to come. Today is a celebration of those revolutionary ideas and ideals, and a reminder that a brighter future is never given, it's made. It's decided and fought for and earned, built brick by those unwilling to let injustice and oppression prevail. It can be easy sometimes to think of 4th of July as an abstract concept. And there's so many things that we do that are a little bit removed, right? The fireworks, the barbecues, the time off and relaxing. But we cannot forget that the simple freedoms we enjoy are made possible by the larger ones we must protect. Freedoms that we right here in Boston resolve to fight and to die defending. Today is a celebration of the freedoms we still have, the freedoms we all cherish. And it's an invitation to reflect on all that it takes to keep that freedom alive, to give thanks to all those who have served in its name, and perhaps above all, today is a call to action. A reminder that here, in our city and in our country, we understand that freedom is an ongoing mission. It takes work, it takes commitment, compassion, and selflessness, and fight. It's not a thing that we have, but a thing that we do. And it's a thing that we do together. The Declaration of Independence lists 27 separate grievances against the monarchy, from unfair taxation, a lack of representation, being denied the right to a fair trial, delaying elections, imposing taxes, restricting trade. Here we recognize from the very beginning that our challenges, those injustices and barriers to freedom, are all interconnected. And that's no less true today. From the need for affordable housing, clean air and water, accessible transportation, voting rights, climate justice, a quality education we can all be proud of for our kids, we continue to grapple with significant threats that stand in the way of all of our residents leading lives that are full and free in the ways that we deserve. Boston has always been a city of the future, a city ready to give birth to that next big idea for all of us and for our kids to live lives that are freer and fairer than we have today. To do that, we all must be involved in this work, and to see each other, fellow members of our community, fellow members of our society, neighbors, not as partisans that need to be bested, but all of us together to best and take on our challenges. That is how to save our democracy. As we reflect on the events that bring us together on this day, let us remember them not only as our history, but as guidance for our present and inspiration for our future. Let us remember freedom and justice not as founding values and ideals a long time ago, but actions taken by a brave, determined few, which showed us the way forward to this day and beyond. Let us remember that the story of our country is one that begins with staring down odds that seemed impossible, and forging ahead anyway, spurred by the unwavering belief that a better world, a better life, was not only possible, but absolutely necessary for all those we love and for the generations to come. And let us recognize our historic legacy here in Boston as an unending readiness for the future. So as we look ahead to the rest of this day's festivities and to the weeks and months ahead as a city and country, let us draw inspiration from our history and never forget what's possible. We need each of you in this fight to build a stronger democracy. That can be getting involved in your local elections, that can be spending your time and energy with organizations in your community, mentoring the next generation, or even getting to know your neighbors by throwing a summer block party. Let us never forget the urgency of the fight for freedom or who we are fighting for. Happy 4th of July, everyone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And once again, it is my pleasure to introduce Dana Whiteside to sing God Bless America.
As the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us pledge allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we lift our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From mountains, to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America. Sing along if you'd like. Land that I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dana Whiteside. And now, the Frank Zappa Band, under the direction of Mr. Frank Zappa, will play Stars and Stripes Forever. Ladies and gentlemen, little did you know that today is Frank Zappa and his wife's anniversary. So, not only happy 4th of July, but happy anniversary to Frank Zappa and Mrs. Zappa. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the 246th Independence Day ceremony. We thank you for your attendance and hope you enjoy your stay in Boston and wish you all a safe and healthy 4th of July.